So, in an attempt to understand the real what-if of Fox's unorthodox genealogy, I've committed myself to a gentler approach within the commentary, because I really want Doomsday to succeed where it counts. In any long-winded expose, there comes a time when artists settle, not by their quality of imagination, but in the temperance of the will. You'd be wise to find yourself drawn to the start of something unspectacular, or the art of noticing, as others put it, as the X-Men are, by design, synonymous with this evolutionary advent. Of those traits, there are, or is, a uniformity and an assimilation of the boring browns and grays that coat grief in the human spirit across languages. A humanity that's every bit of pound and flesh like the gods they've gone without. If you're interested in hearing more about the frameworks of those ideas from a sociological and temporal stance, I'd highly recommend checking out my coverage of X-Men 97, as it's a story that approaches big questions with more than enough spine to chew on, and clearly has left some traceable notes on the complementary stylization that the Russos have been chasing to bring to life. A lot of this jargon can run around itself redundantly, so boiling it down to its known context for Doomsday might just be this. These characters have a history within our chronology, beyond it even, as Wolverine did in the metathesis of Deadpool and Wolverine. Go against the first counter-argument you think of when you hear that, and pause the initial corporate stigmas that flood that set encounter. There is a challenge there, one that might work to reveal a larger well of sentiment that's been building for Doomsday, one that's been following Marvel since No Way Home. And it's that we can do anything. We can layer within Doomsday an opening message and a proclamation of purpose, uncorrelated to any endgame timestamps or Easter eggs, and from this vantage, I think the message is clear. Endgame was 11 years in the making for one team, but Doomsday is attempting to be the plenum of 30 years of continuous ideation. I don't personally care if that's the only point of it, because at the end of the day, that doesn't mean the movie will be any good. But I do think it's important to pay attention to what those signals suggest, and to what's being shown this early by the studio. Because if it's anywhere close to a holistic revival, a wake beyond wakes, and the Russos know that, can you imagine the finality of the Kang Dynasty and the multiversal saga once all is said and done?
Bucky, you have the wrong people.
I invite the worst possible thing into my head to figure out how to hurt them before they hurt anybody else.
And you know what? Sometimes you being you hurts me.
So you can either do something about it now, or live with it forever.
What's bent for closer examination is our passage of time. It's not how it goes about aging, but what it becomes by way of it. Theology can be mystical, it can be educational, it can be muddied and cinematic and murderous and mysterious. The crucible for cataclysmic events in Marvel's far-reaching pantheon often finds its way working back to where the wild things lie. It's an isolated look at torn-up families and how we choose to project the worst of our fears into the futures that have passed us. Franklin Richards is one example of this. Anchor beings caught many of our attention not long ago when racing through the other worlds of Deadpool, as anchor beings are to this iteration of superhero sagas what organic webbing was to the symbolism of Tobey's Spider-Man. The only question that really matters is, can this version live within its own identity if embraced as advertised, where there might be more to the Doomsday machine than it really seems? I believe that is the important part, and this old X-Men constructs a bridge left behind in long-forgotten eras for us once again. An anchor being gets its wings, but not without having to break a few bones first. We know this. Temperance is that wonderful thing that keeps an X-Men idea in check. We've squeezed and stretched Logan as much as we can, but the rest of these characters and villains are untouched, and sometimes there's something to be said for letting Father Time take his course. When Thanos first arrived, or when Ultron predicted the end times, there was this acknowledgement of time left unsupervised. What might happen when the persistence of heroes is overwhelmed by evolution and biology and mechanics, surpassing understanding even for the smartest of them? Only one kind of experience can act as a consequence for such unchecked change: doom. And only one kind of story can resonate farther than Asgard when its climax is stretched to infinity: humanity. The X-Men are the Russo's golden goose, and that's not nothing. And as always, thanks for watching.